This is the Board of Supervisors meeting. Regular board meeting Tuesday, January 9th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors hearing room 1415 Melody Lane, Building G, Bisbee, Arizona 85603. Pursuant to ARS 38431.02H, the public will have physical access, and the public had physical access to the meeting place 15 minutes prior to the start of this meeting. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action, and I ask you to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. The order or deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at the meeting. The board may vote to recess into an executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38431.03A3. Now for the roll call, Crosby from District 1 is here. District 2.
Supervisor English is present.
And District 3.
Supervisor Judd is here, and Wilcox.
Good deal. We have a full board today. Members of the public may attend the meeting via Microsoft Teams, computer or mobile app, or via phone by calling 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714, conference ID 344-656-408. 408#. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on this agenda. To speak on an agenda item or during call to the public, please complete and return a speaker request form to the clerk of the board prior to the start of the meeting. Note that some attachments may be updated after the agenda is published. This means that some presentation material displayed at the board meeting may differ slightly from the attached version. Call to the public will be next, and we have in person, well, perhaps not, I don't know if they're in person or not, but it says Paul Varble. Are you available today, Mr. Varble? And we don't have Mr. Varble with us at the moment. So next is Radford Hyde. Is Radford Hyde with us today on Teams by any chance?
Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, this is Radford Hyde from Sierra Vista, and I wanted to comment about last meeting. To Mrs. or Ms. Tricia Girodet, I want to personally thank you for your hard work on the water conservation efforts over the last 20 years, especially your efforts concerning our San Pedro River. You've gained some well-deserved recognition, so congratulations. We are all better off because of your efforts. On the other hand, I have personally spent the last 30 years as an IT professional and in cybersecurity. Your comment at the last meeting trying to disparage my expertise on matters involving MiFi, Wi-Fi, internet, computer networking, and architecture, I found cute. You stated that MiFi is quote-unquote new to you and quote-unquote believed to be secure. After all, you quote-unquote checked with the system and various people. Well, bless your heart. We'd have all been better off if you had quoted Ruth Langmore from the TV show Ozark. Sure, those programmable machines that were disallowed from examining are believed to be secure. After all, you checked with the system and various people. To Ms. Judd, you have turned on your constituents. We need the mail-in or we won't win, I believe is something that you said. My opinion is you are either coward or you are compromised. For God's sake, stand on principle and stop being so wishy-washy. Admit you are all in on the machines. Your actions tell us that. Stop tiptoeing that you have concerns. That's all BS to distract us. When is the meeting scheduled that you had promised for Brian Steiner, Paul Rice, and Daniel Wood in order to give a detailed presentation of the problems with the machines. At least Supervisor English doesn't try to play both sides. You know the machines are bad. You have all the evidence and admitted they have problems over and over. Tell me, what has derailed you? If you are all still planning on using ES&S 6.0.4.0, why won't Mr. Maddox respond to my email inquiry? Reminder, the express poll tablets used were and are not part of the certified election system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. And I believe that is all of the call to the public, unless I got one stuck on here. There's one more, excuse me. And this is Allison Morse. Allison Morse, are you with us this morning?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
You sound pretty good. Go ahead.
Excellent. Good morning. I'm Allison Morse from Portal, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I'd like to first compliment the Elections Department on their effort to educate the public and dispel misconceptions about our voting equipment. The two planned ES&S demo presentations and posting of the video recording on the elections website will help us all better understand this aspect of our voting process. Thank you for organizing that. I'd also like to express my concern with transparency and responsiveness in another county department. I don't think it should be necessary to bother a dozen people to get a simple answer that a journalist can get promptly from Recorder Stevens. The location of goods purchased with grant monies for, quote, ballot fraud countermeasures, end quote, was not entirely reported correctly, by the way. According to Runbeck's public relation firm, the custom dandy world is not being stored at Runbeck in Phoenix, but rather is currently located at a paper mill. I've tried to understand why Runbeck was not required to submit a proposal before being paid $187,500 last February. During Mr. Stevens' presentation of the grant back in October of 2022, he clearly mentioned RFPs, the paper going out to bid, and Runbeck bidding on it. Yet, neither Recorder Stevens nor Grant Administrator John Boswell have been able or willing to explain why this has changed. I'd also like to know why 10 tons of paper and 75,000 parent were purchased with grant money, but no sample ballots were printed as stated in Recorder Stevens' final report. And why would a pilot project to create some sample ballots require such a massive amount of paper? Now that the paper and dandy rule will be sold at auction, will Runbeck have the opportunity to buy back their own goods at a discounted price, which they previously sold to Cochise County for profit? When citizens inquire about the workings of the county government and the expenditure of taxpayers' dollars, I believe they are due the courtesy of an explanation. It is unsettling to get no response to basic questions. I don't want to think that it's due to incompetence, corruption, and/or cover-up. Please encourage respect, transparency, and timely responsiveness in all aspects of county governments and administration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Morse. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. The chair would hear a motion to accept items 1 through 6 of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept items 1 through 6 on the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, for discussion, I would like to note that there are 2 people that indicated support for item number 2 and none opposed for item number 2. Now for the question for the consent agenda, items 1 through 6, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And it is unanimous and the consent agenda passes. Next up is the action item number 7. Is there a motion for item number 7?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the reprogramming request for grant agreement HT 232912 with the City of Tucson, Southwest Border, Arizona Region High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Program and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office for the purchase of a vehicle to be used by HIDA Task Force in the amount of $48,854.31, effective January the 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024.
There's a
I'll
motion.
second.
Thank you, Madam Judd. Mr. Giganto, would you care to address this morning?
Certainly. Thank you, Chairman Crosby and members of the board. The Sheriff's Office is asking for approval to use $48,854.31 as an addition to our current HIDA grant. The intent behind those funds is to purchase another vehicle. It is a specialty vehicle to be used for surveillance and other covert actions in connection with our narcotics enforcement activities. It's common for this grant to pay for vehicles. Doesn't happen every cycle. I think the last one was in 2014, but that vehicle is older now, and because we use them for surveillance purposes, they kind of only stay viable for so long before all the kind of bad guys get used to the vehicles that we use. So every so often we need to mix it up and purchase something else. The $48,854 will be used to buy the vehicle. There's no matching funds or anything like that included. However, with the difficulty getting vehicles, that just covers the cost of the vehicle. If we have anything extra, we can put it towards the upfitting, but the upfitting isn't included in this, so it will cost the Sheriff's Office, after talking to Fleet, between probably $5,000 and $10,000 to upfit the vehicle. It doesn't require everything that a patrol car needs, but it does require some lighting, radios, and things like that.
Thank you. It appears that your rank is now lieutenant. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, Lieutenant. Are there? Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions for the lieutenant this morning?
No, there aren't any.
Okay. Hearing no questions, there's been a motion and a second. I call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lieutenant. Next is item number 8. Is there a motion for item number 8?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Amendment 1 to the Memorandum of Understanding MOU between the Bureau of Land Management, Fort Huachuca, City of Sierra Vista, and Cochise County for cooperative monitoring and management of the San Pedro Riparian National Conservation Area and surrounding areas within Cochise County, effective upon signing by all parties.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Casey is going to present for us today. Mr. Casey, please.
Good morning, members of the board. Today we're requesting your approval for amendment number 1 to the MOU between the BLM, Fort Huachuca, Sierra Vista, and Cochise County to add Sierra Vista as the fiscal agent to the pre-approved, the previously approved amendment or MOU that was signed in 2021.
Okay. Anything else for us?
That's it, sir.
Okay. Are there any comments from the board about item number 8?
No, I think it's important that we really keep the information current, and that we keep documentation, because boards change on all of these entities that are here, and we certainly want to keep the successful program moving forward. So thank you.
Madam Judd, do you have any comments?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. I just have some very short comments.
Mr.
I'm not going to.
Sorry, there is a
Okay. Item.
speaker request.
Mr. This is Tricia Jaredette. Would you please tell us your comments about item number 8? I'm sorry that I almost forgot you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I was about to speak up because my mic had been enabled. Well, I just discovered this item last night, and so I'm nowhere near as prepared as I would like to be. Nevertheless, I'll say some things. The 4-entity partnership that this revised memo is addressing is, in my mind, another attempt at narrowing down who gets to participate and who gets to hear information and comment on it. This, in my mind, is actually a pretty big deal. It's much more than just setting up the city to be the fiscal agent. It also sweeps in all funds from the CCRN, anything remaining at the USPP, or could sweep in, I should say, and USPP funds, and does a number of other things, and very much, in my mind, limits public engagement. I take note of the fact that it was signed by Fort Huachuca in mid-December. The fort does not have to engage in any public process on this. It was signed by BLM on the, I think it was 28th. They don't have to engage in any public process. It was signed apparently by Chuck Patuchek on the 29th. I cannot find that there was any city council authorization or adoption of this MOU revision. And so this is the first I've heard of it in terms of public process. And this is the last. So I'm upset and didn't get myself as composed and prepared as I would have liked to have been. I can't exactly urge you to not sign it, but I do want my comments and concerns, such as I've been able to compose them, to be a part of the record, and I will attempt to prepare something more formal and written to submit, even though it will be after this public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Gerardette. I also have a few comments, and these are not going to be very long comments, but on page 3 of the agreement, let's see what I noted here. Expanding intergovernmental service agreements and partnerships. That's near the top of the page. To support the fort's mission. That sounds good to support the fort's mission, but I'm not necessarily in favor of expanding government, and that sounds like that's what would happen here. In the middle of page 3, it says something like this: develop a consensus with regard to the shared benefits of the many activities that are planned or underway in the region. And so whenever I see that word region, I always wonder, what region are they talking about? And I don't see region defined here. Same thing with the word area. Shared goals and points of mutual interest. Well, what is the mutual interest? It's water. And I don't want to share our water. And I think that is what is inevitably going to happen with the further encroachment of any federal regulations. And let's see. Here's another one at the bottom of page 3. Local community capacity to support regional water-related objectives. And there again, region is not defined again. So I wonder, what is the region that they're talking about, and what water-related objectives are they talking about? It's not defined. I believe that is going to be redistribution of our water away from the Sierra Vista sub-watershed. That's my opinion. Okay, so in page 4, it says, top of the page, water supply risks and avoid conflicts related to local water use and federal reserved rights. So I wonder, how do we avoid those conflicts? And I believe that what is implied and what is inevitable with the what I consider the trickle-down bribery of federal grants is we will be required to surrender to the federal government.
Crosby, I believe your comments are going outside the scope of the noticed item.
Thank you very much. And if I want your opinion, I'll ask. And
I'm going to give you my opinion because it's my job to do so at this point.
Well, I
feel
disagree. We can talk about that at another time. But you've advised me, and I will continue with my comments.
Be advised that you are committing an open meeting violation going beyond the scope of what this particular
agenda. No, it's in front of me, and I'm reading it. Okay. Here's another example. Avoid conflict between local water use and federal reserved water rights. So I got to wonder, what federal reserved water rights are there that are legitimate? So I developed a thumbnail test for constitutionality in this matter, and it goes like this. Would the founding fathers have ratified the Constitution if it said that a plant, fish, or frog could threaten national security, including military missions? And I believe that is a rhetorical no. And I have another thumbnail test. Would the founding fathers have ratified the Constitution if it said the new country, being the United States, could trade land, for instance, in New York for land in Georgia? And again, I believe that that is a rhetorical no. So that concludes my comments. That was item number 8. And there's been a motion and a second and comments. If there are no further comments, I call for the question.
Further comment, and I think that we as a board should always look kindly and for ways to cooperate instead of looking for ways not to cooperate. And when cooperation takes place, it helps everyone.
I don't have any comments. We can go ahead and thank you.
See no
Mrs.
further
English.
comments. If there are no further comments, I call for the question. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. No. And moving along to item number 9.
Thank you.
And I believe, thank you, Mr. Casey.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the funding request of $50,000 to the Elections Department for purchase of additional voting equipment at vote centers.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. And before we start with Mr. Frisbee's presentation, I see that we have a speaker request form, and that is for Mr. Radford Hyde. Are you with us, Mr. Hyde? And I don't hear Mr. Hyde, so we will simply go on with Mr. Frisbee's presentation.
Hello. Had to
there he
unmute.
is.
Sorry.
That's okay. Do you have a comment for us, Mr. Hyde?
Of course I have a comment. This has anything to do with voting machines. It's a hard no. We need to do one day, one vote, no mail-in, no machines, none of that. We shouldn't be spending money to support the election industrial complex. And we can't cooperate ourselves into freedom. We're going to cooperate ourselves right into communism, which is exactly what all of these people want. So please vote no on supporting and continuing to support the election industrial complex that's going to put us all in chains. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. Mr. Frisbee, would you have comments for us this morning?
Sure. This is for the elections department. It's requesting $50,000 for the purchase of additional voting equipment to reduce wait times. This was discussed on the December 19th work session. Also, I want to note that I need to amend the budget amendment that was attached. The correct account code, the correct GL would be 100, to increase in account code would be 100 0500 0520, account code 429.500 for data prod repair and maintenance account code, same amounts, 50,000.
Okay, so are you on top of those code changes as a part of your job, sir?
Correct.
Okay, and does that fulfill all the necessary requirements to amend this item? Is that what we're doing? We're amending this item? Because I don't see those figures on the actual.
It's a typo. It doesn't necessarily require an amendment as long as it's been noted as a typo that the wrong numbers were put in.
It's simply the GL number, so it's the proposition for the $50,000 is still sufficient.
Okay, so it doesn't change the agenda item that we're looking at for item number 9. Okay, there has been a motion and a second. Mr. Frisbee, is that all the comments that you have for us?
That's it.
Are there any comments from the board?
No.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Nancy Olmsted. I was missed in the call to the public, but it is pertaining this specific item. May I speak now?
I'm afraid not, because I don't have the item, and if our clerk has not given it prior to the meeting, I'm afraid I'm not going to let you do that. I'm sorry.
Okay, however, I did receive an acknowledgement of my request for a call to the public.
Well,
Mr. Chair,
we'll take a slight break to see if that happens.
If
So
we just have a
Sure.
brief recess.
that's fine. Okay.
Thank-
We will
thank you.
recess briefly. Ready to resume. Let's see, Nancy, are you ready to speak for us again?
I am.
Okay, they have found that what you said was correct, so go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Nancy Olmsted. I live in Whetstone, and I thank you for this opportunity. I am speaking today opposing the purchase of any additional voting machines for county voting centers as it pertains to item 9, this item on today's agenda. I would like to put the board on notice that it acted in violation of state statute when it voted for the 19 voting centers on December 12th. To clarify, on September 12th, the board voted on Resolution 23-24, citing ARS 16-411. As you recall, that vote was not approved, which, as specified, resulted to approve redesignating the 55 precinct polling places as previously used in our county elections. However, ARS 16-411A, quote, the Board of Supervisors of each county on or before October 1st of each year preceding the year of a general election shall establish a convenient number of election precincts in the county and define the boundaries of those precincts, unquote. According to ARS 16-411A, the decision on the number of voting center locations had to have been made by October 1st. So the vote on December 12th is clearly in violation of the state statute. Thousands of voters in our district do not trust the current system, a system that is rigged against we the people in violation of our Constitution. Any investment in new voting machines is without approval of we the people. We the people oppose our current election process because it's flawed. We are against the machine and mail-in voting because there is no chain of custody, which is not resolved by making voting more convenient or cost efficient. We are against voting machines because it disenfranchises voters. We want no machines, one-day voting, paper ballots, and precinct voting. Each of you took an oath to uphold the state's constitution. The December 12th vote violated that oath. Any new expenditures of machines to further vote centers is also a violation. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Olmsted. Does the board have any comments? I just have a comment, and that is that Ms. Olmsted is correct about the clause under the results of approving this resolution. When we heard from Mr. Bartlesmeyer, the results under the clause results of not approving this resolution was to use 55 precincts. So I have to agree with her on that. Okay, so we have had a motion and a second for item number 9. If there's no further comments, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. No. Moving to item number 10. Is there a motion? Thank you, Mr. Frisbee. Is there a motion for item number 10?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve intergovernmental agreement IGA CTR 67930 and I think I missed a zero, CTR 067930, Women, Infants, and Children's WIC, and the Breastfeeding Peer Counseling BFPC program between the Arizona Department of Health Services and Cochise County Health and Social Services in the amount of $653,741 for WIC and $63,824 for BFPC for the period of October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024.
I'll
There-
second the motion.
There is a motion and a second. Thank you, Madam English. Ms. Hagel, would you care to address us this morning?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Supervisors. Today I request the approval of the WIC IGA. This agreement is year one of another 5-year agreement. We will continue to serve WIC services for postpartum women, infants, and children, and I request your approval today.
Thank you, Ms. Hagel. Are there any comments from the board?
I don't know that you have the information with you, but sometimes it helps us when you tell us the number of people that are being served. And so if you have that available, I'd like to put that in the record.
Our caseload is 3,160 clients.
A year.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That is sizable.
Thank you.
Madam Judge, do you have any comments?
I don't thank you.
Okay. Hearing no further comments, there has been a motion and a second. Therefore, I call for the question. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Ms. Hagel, if you would stay with us for just another moment, may I hear a motion for item number 11?
Chairman, I move that we approve contract amendment 4 CTR 050594. Help Start program between the Arizona Department of Health Services and Cochise County Health and Social Services in the amount of $353,000 for the period of July the 1st, 2023 through July the 5th, 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hagel, would you care to address us about item number 11?
Yes. Today I request amendment 4 be approved. Amendment 3 was approved by Board of Supervisors on July 25th. That amendment was only the renewal. Today's amendment is the price sheet that was added to the IGA. Also want to make note that this IGA is changing to a cost reimbursement IGA rather than a fixed price.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Would you tell us what we are going to add that we didn't have before?
This adds the budget of $353,000.
Okay, and then what are you going to do with that money?
We continue to provide our home visiting services. We go out into the community to provide educational resources to pregnant women and children up to the age of 2 years.
Okay, so what will this increase do to your caseload? Would you care to estimate on that?
Well, it's not an increase in funding. It's just for some reason when we received Amendment 3, the price sheet wasn't attached to that. So now we received the price sheet and we're bringing it forth as amendment number 4.
Okay.
So the money remains the same.
I understand. Thank you very much. There's been a motion and a second. Are there any further comments from the board?
No.
Hearing no further comments, I call for the question. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hagel. Next on the list is a report by Richard Karwachka, County Administrator, recent and pending county matters.
So I don't have any comment regarding pending county matters. However, something that recent happened, Mr. Varble did submit a request to speak form. He wasn't here at the beginning. I wanted to inform the chair that he is present today, and he came in.
Okay, I recognize Mr. Varble, and I guess you didn't understand that the meeting time changed. Yeah. Okay. I understand. Okay. Can you save your comments till the next meeting?
Yes,
Okay. Okay, that's good. That, okay, Mr. Farble has indicated his willingness to wait for our next meeting. So it says report by Supervisor 1 Crosby, and I will pass in the interest of time. District 2.
I'll pass.
And District 2 has passed. Madam Judd, would you care to comment on recent events?
I would just like to remind people that Wings Over Wilcox is coming on Martin Luther King weekend. So if you want to look into that, we would love to have you in Wilcox. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned.
Next meeting.
Yeah. When is the next meeting? Does it say here? January 23rd at 10 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors hearing room for a regular Board of Supervisors meeting. And thank you, Ms. Gilman, for that. Meeting is adjourned.